We got to stop the chaos. It's crazy. You got cash flow issues, employee issues, workers' comp issues. You got all kinds of equipment problems. But wait a minute. You can grow and chill in the Growth Hub with Fire, Lead, and Chill.
What's up, everybody? Dan Plata here from Best Damn Bookkeeping and Hire Lead Chill. Sorry, I'm like arranging my notes here. I got notes for today. We're talking core values today. So if it looks, I'm going to be like looking between the camera and looking at myself to make sure I don't have food in my teeth. Now I'm doing good. I got notes here because I got all kinds of good stuff on core values. And I created a video already. I don't know what order you're going to watch these ones in. But I did one on group interviewing, and core values is a huge component of that. And I'm going to get into how to use your core values most effectively. But first I want to talk about what they are and how to develop them. Because if your core values suck, then what's the point in using them? And my background's in the corporate world, and I used to kind of have a bad vibe on core values. It just always felt so corporate to me. And I left the corporate world because I didn't like the feeling of all the corporate bureaucracy nonsense stuff. And core values always kind of felt like that to me. And then I realized it was just because the way they dealt with them. It was like, here's the core values, and you need to sign off that you understand them, right? But there's no emotion to them. It was like, whose core values are they? It was just some like made up corporate bullshit. In our small businesses, they're way more powerful and they're way more meaningful because at the end of the day, core values. Oh God, my wife is calling me right now. How do I pause this thing? I wonder if I'm gonna pause it. It's gonna look like I was just gone for a second. I came right back, but I better talk to my wife. Oh, I'm back. It was like you didn't even know I talked to my wife. I'm not even in trouble, by the way. Huh? Very cool. So core values in our small businesses are way more powerful because we can wrap emotion into it, because there are core values. And I think that's ultimately the lesson for core values is you already have them. You don't need to go like searching for them. They're your core values. There's one employee in your company that'll never get fired. And I'd say you're looking at him, but you're probably looking at me right now. So you'd have to like get a mirror and look at yourself. But it's you. And so the core values have to be yours because when you're hiring people, or firing people, but you're asking them to follow you. And what are they following? Like, who are they following? Why are they following you? And why would you ask that of them? The core values are what leads them to follow you. And so if you don't have those defined and you don't know what you stand for, it's hard to tell other people what you stand for. And then it's hard for them to decide if they really want to follow you. So they're core values that you already have. You can come up with whatever words you want. For instance, one thing that's super important to me, and I didn't have this core value forever. At least I always had it. I just didn't have it defined. And then I had a employee, Tony. If you've ever seen me talk about this before, you already probably know my Tony story. Complained about everything. Literally one day his route was like his client was a long ways from the office and he bitched all day about him having the worst route. And we acknowledged it. We were like, yeah, Tony, you had the worst route today. Tomorrow you have the best route. Like your two jobs are right across the street from one another. You don't have to drive anywhere. And then the next day he bitched that his jobs were too close together and he didn't have time to smoke a cigarette in between jobs. And then it was at that point I realized like people with shitty attitudes, I just can't deal with them. I can't have it. And so positive attitude had to be a core value of mine. It's super. I'm like smiling all the time. I'm a freaking Labrador retriever. I'm just pumped to see everybody. I'm pumped to hang out with everybody. And I just roll with the positive attitude. And so I can't have people working for me that have a shitty attitude. It like totally drags me down and totally blows up our culture. So that became a core value of mine. Now it worked, and I'll get to a second part of core values here in a second. It worked in my last business that the core value was positive attitude. In this business, I have a different acronym. And I'll tell you why I think an acronym is important. But in Best Damn Bookkeeping, my acronym is BEST. So my core values had to hit those letters. There's a million words that can mean the same thing. And you also get the opportunity to define it when you talk about it. So our number one core value at Best Damn Bookkeeping is blessed, meaning we're thankful, we're positive, we're happy to be here, we're happy to work who we work for, and we're looking at the bright side of things. So still means the same thing, different word, started with a B. And I like the acronym approach because A, it helps me remember, but also like if you choose a cool acronym, it can also be a core value. Our team knows my expectation for everybody is that we are the best. And that's a constant evolution, right? We're always trying to get better. but I like the acronym BEST because it says what we are all about. We have to be the best. And if we're not, we're sure as hell going to make some changes to be able to get there. And then all of our core values hit one of those letters. Makes it really easy for us to remember and a little bit more fun. So we have our core values: blessed, efficient, steadfast, and trustworthy. You make up your own core values, but it's all things that you already have. Integrity is really important to me. Doing what you say. So trustworthy, like if the letter was an I would just use integrity, but it had to be a T because trustworthy. Having grit and fighting and scratching and clawing is really important to me, and working your ass off. And so steadfast is a weird word, but that's what it means. And so we went with that one. And efficient, I'm all about being productive and not wasting time. So efficiency. Again, they're all things that I already have. And if people are going to follow me and want to be a part of this thing, they got to believe in that. So those are my core values. And like I said, an acronym, A, kind of crafts the words you're going to use anyway, but makes it way more memorable. I don't like to have more than like 5. If you get it too big of an acronym, it gets lost and it's hard to remember. And if it's too short of an acronym, it doesn't cover everything. So like 3 to 5 words in there. And it can be even like a multiple word thing. In our last one, our acronym was PLOW, and the O stood for ownership and accountability. So that you can kind of wrap 2 words into one if you need to. But try that on if you're looking to refine your core values, or if you're looking to come up with a set of core values because you don't have one yet. Find a meaningful acronym. Doesn't need to be a word, could just be something that sounds funny, but is memorable to you because you're going to be asking your employees to remember those core values. And if it's random and obscure, it becomes hard to remember. And they're values that you already have, and you're looking for people that have the same thing. And so that gets me now to the uses of core values. And this, like, the better I've gotten at defining our core values and enjoying them instead of thinking there's some corporate bullshit. There are so many uses for these core values. The main one is who you're going to hire and who you're going to fire. And back to the video I did on group interviewing, I use the core values as a huge component of that interview. And I literally say this word for word. I don't remember if I mentioned it when I recorded that, but when I start talking about our core values, I tell everybody that's in that group interview that if I go over these core values and your reaction to that is, hey, those are neat, Dan, I like those, don't come work here. Your reaction to these core values, if you're going to work here, has got to be, and pardon my French, fuck yeah. If you don't see these core values and think, what do I need to do to follow that guy? I will follow him anywhere because I believe in the same thing. And I'm willing to say, fuck yeah, because this is where we're going. If that's not the level of emotion from these core values that you get, then don't come and work here. You're going to be miserable here. If you don't believe this stuff, why would you follow me? Because this is what I'm doing. And if you don't want to do this stuff, like, there's plenty of other jobs out there and plenty of other companies to work for. So you got to go do that. Like, go do what your God-given talent is and what you believe in. If you don't believe in this and you're not willing to follow me into the stupidest shit that I come up with, then don't be here, because these are the core values that we got. And this is why you need to follow me. If you're going to be here, this is how you're following me. And so I love core values for that. It defines why somebody would come with you on the journey of your business. They have to believe in that. If they don't believe in that, they don't believe in you. And why would you have them on your team if they don't want to follow you? Then they're just there for a paycheck and they're going to end up being a shitty employee. So core values are huge for hiring people. On the flip side, on the negative side, they're also huge for firing people. If they violate a core value, there isn't a second chance. There's no 3-strike rule. If you violate my trustworthy core value, there's nowhere to go. If you violate my efficiency or my blessed or my steadfast, if you violate a core value, you're fired immediately. There's other reasons you might not perform well on the job. Maybe we just hired somebody that we thought would learn this better or faster and they didn't. It doesn't mean they don't meet the core values. It just might not be the right job for them. We can still let people go because of that. But if they violate a core value principle of your business, they got to go. Because you can go find better people that believe in those core values and will follow you with those core values. So that's the biggest thing, hiring and firing with them. I think it's really important too to make them fun. Like, you can weave them in, you can change your description of them and make it goofy. You can weave them into your application process. You can weave it into your filtering process of the questions you ask before you even give somebody an interview. Again, I like to do it in a group interview and I like to tell stories with it. I mentioned this on the group interview video, but stories sell. And just like I told you guys the story of Tony and why I created the core values I created, because we had an employee that I couldn't fire because I didn't have a core value to fire him with. And I realized it was his attitude. There's a story behind every core value as to why that's so important to you. And you tell those stories. People love hearing stories. And people that like your story, they usually nod their head. If they're in agreement, they're like, oh man, this guy's speaking my language. And if they're really about it, and maybe they're extroverted, they tell you a story back. Like everybody that's you're telling a story to always wants to tell you a story back if they're engaged. If they're not engaged, they're bored and they have no interest in telling you a story back. That's how you know they're not a good fit for you, because they don't give a shit about your story. So use them in a story setting like that. I like it for setting good expectations. I feel like whether it's a customer you're talking to or an employee you're talking to, when you lay out your core values, it should let them know what they're about to get. And you got to deliver, right? When you set expectations, you're setting like the minimum expectation of, we will always do this no matter what. And your core values are that we will always do this no matter what. And sometimes you get in weird spots, right? Not everything is black and white, especially with like trust and integrity. But when you have a core value that is a guideline like that, you just don't even have to think about what the right behavior is to match your core values. So it's great at setting expectations, both for your clients of how you're going to work with them and for your employees of what it's going to be like to work for you. Super good at expectation setting. It can turn into a negative when you need to fire people, but I also think it's super cool to use your core values to reward people. So we have a thing at Best Damn Bookkeeping that we call core value vibes. And so each month, our employees can give each other points. And so it can be, they get 10 points a month to allocate, 2 points for this, 4 points for that, 1 point for that. And it always has to be tied to a core value. So when they say, hey, I want to recognize Skip on the team for doing this, or Jason on the team for doing that, it is tied to a core value. They always need to acknowledge the core value and recognize each other with the core values. So they're core value vibes. And whoever gets the most vibes at the end of the month gets a cool prize. So we like to reward people that are exemplifying the core values, and we use that to talk about it with each other. And it does a funny thing too, is it always reminds your employees of your core values. Literally every month, we're hashtagging our core values to each other and reinforcing them. My employees are obviously at computers, so it's a little bit different. If your employees are out in the field, can still do the same thing. Your employees are probably wearing company shirts. I'm just wearing a Plata sweatshirt right now. This is our family core values. Tough cookie, smart cookie, problem solver. And the cookie's in the middle. It's our little family motto. But your employees might be out in the field. Instead of putting the services that they do on their shirt, because your employees already know what services they do for the most part. Your customer that hired you to go out to their house also already knows what services you do. That's why they called you. Put your core values on your shirt. Not what you're there to do, but why you're there to do it. That's way more compelling. That'll get into way more discussions about your business, and discussions about your business are how you sell, right? When the neighbor sees you walking around, they can see that you're pressure washing. They can see that you're window cleaning. They can see that you're going in the house with vacuum and you're doing maid service. They can tell what it is that you're over there doing, but they don't know why you're doing it. And if you have your core values on your shirt, you're way more likely to strike up a conversation with them about what you're all about, versus if it says gutter cleaning, window cleaning, pressure washing, whatever you got. So use it in some creative ways like that. In my last business, we would do the awards, but we even created funny names for them and funny stickers for them. I forget what the hell the name for the Positive Attitude Award was. I think it was the Richard Simmons Award. Whoever was most positive got the Richard Simmons Award, and they would get a sticker that they could put on their computer with Richard Simmons' face on. And so it was just a goofy thing. And obviously we're a remote business, so we did goofy prizes. They would get a little gift card, but they'd also get the corner office. They'd get casual Fridays. They would get work from home, all the things that they already had. But it was funny. And it just gave us an opportunity to talk more about our core values. So make it fun, make it goofy, give your employees a reason to be talking about your core values. Don't make it corporate, like, hey, here's our core values, and I wrote them on the board, and take a picture of them and sign off that you're aware of what our core values are. Nobody's going to follow that. They're going to be like, ugh, like so corporate and boring. Make it goofy, make it fun, make it exciting, make it yours. Again, it's emotional. It's everything you believe in, wrapped into a mantra for your business. And if the people you have working for you don't believe in it, they got to go. They will not follow you where you need them to follow you. So they got to get out and you got to go find new people. So go watch my video that I did on group interview. I think it's important just all the time to be celebrating those things, right? Like I said, you're going to fire people with them, but whether it's a core value vibes thing or just a daily recognition thing or a Monday morning meeting where you want to highlight some things, just like parenting, right? You're going to scold children. You're going to scold employees when they do things wrong, but it's equally important that you catch them doing things right. And you want to build that culture that they catch themselves doing stuff right and are high-fiving each other. So like I said, we use core value vibes. That's just what we called it because we're weirdos. Make it your own thing. Find a way to use those core values in a fun way to celebrate each other. Put it on your shirts, put it around your office, name awards after it, whatever you got to do to make it fun. And just make sure you have like core values that are yours, right? Don't make them some corporate BS words that sound important. Make them things that are important to you so that you can set good expectations both for employees and customers. Go do it. Hit me up if you got any questions or need any help. And actually, I think Sean even will like consult you and help you build your core values if you're not really sure or need a second opinion is always good to get. So anyway, go get them. We'll see you in the next video. Oh, I gotta move my notes. Where do I click? Okay, bye.
The Growth Hub, growing while at peace. Brought to you by Hire, Lead, and Chill.